that comes to my mind is especially during these rainy days, floods. It's always the mga, di ba? Philippine Coast Guard are on the forefront. But right now, they have the added burden to closely guard our maritime borders, and the most troubled ones is around the West Philippine Sea. And today we will be having an update report from no less than the official spokesperson of the Philippine Coast Guard on the West Philippine Sea matters, Commodore Jay Tarriela. Good morning, sir.
Good morning po, ma'am.
And as we always do, as our guest, as I've said, we would like to get update report on the latest situation now in the West Philippine Sea, despite these uh, tropical cyclones that visit us every now and then, and our maritime waters.
Well, based on our current monitoring right now, no, dahil sa pangit na panahon sa West Philippine Sea, the Chinese maritime militia around the West Philippine Sea significantly decreased, of course. But for the
Sana
Chinese,
more cyclones.
but for the Chinese Coast Guard vessels, there are areas na minomonitor tayo. Ito ay, of course, sa Bajo de Masinloc and some areas in Kalayaan Island too. I won't be disclosing the actual data. I think the Armed Forces of the Philippines also released yesterday.
Yes.
So I'll just be supporting yung present nilang data kahapon. The data that was presented yesterday that's basically claimed na it's 1 month monitoring.
Yes.
So 49 yun, no?
Yes.
Binanggit. 49 combined itong China Coast Guard and the PLA Navy warships. I think it's important for us to understand na the 49 Chinese maritime forces na na-monitor natin is actually a 30-day monitoring. It doesn't really mean na itong 49 na to sa loob ng isang araw nakita nila.
Okay.
So maaaring yung 5 Coast Guard vessel na na-monitor namin will be entirely different with the other 5 Coast Guard vessels na nakita namin the following week. So it doesn't follow na itong 49 China Coast Guard vessel and PLA Navy warship remain to be within our own exclusive economics. Just for you to have a much more clearer context. It's a 30-day monitoring and it's not just a single day monitoring. But on the part of the Philippine Coast Guard, we are we have still deployed our 97-meter vessel sa Kalayaan Island Group and also in Bajo de Masinloc together with our 44-meter vessel. The priority of the deployment is to ensure the safety and security of the Filipino fishermen. Dahil sa pangit na panahon na to, we can just anticipate that our Filipino fishermen might also experience sea mishap and other incident. That's why, despite of the bad sea condition, our Coast Guard vessels are still deployed in the West Philippine Sea, primarily to provide assistance sa ating mga mangingisdang Pilipino na mga kailangan.
And speaking of our Filipino fisher folks in the contested maritime territories, the National Security Advisor issued a statement yesterday denouncing the quote-unquote diplomatic pressures bear upon the private film producers of Food Delivery, Fresh from the West Philippine Sea documentary. And it won the New Zealand Tides Change Award. And China reportedly, it was really, came out in media that Chinese embassy in New Zealand and the Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs really bore down upon New Zealand I think, forfeit the award.
Alam mo, ma'am, no? Makikita natin, ang New Zealand, basically, hindi nagpadala ng pressure ang Chinese government. No? And still, ipinalabas nila ito and nanalo pa nga ng award in which they also recognize yung documentary film. Pero para sa akin, bago natin ikundina ang China sa pag-pressure sa New Zealand, we also need to understand bakit hindi ito napasama sa Cinemalaya Festival no itong nakaraang buwan. Actually,
Really?
that was originally intended to be part of the Cinemalaya organized by Pure Gold. And then a few days before the festival,
Oo.
sa kanila uh, sinabing hindi sila kasali. That's the reason kung bakit isinama ito sa other international documentary festival. So, somebody has to explain kung bakit ito hindi ipinalabas dito sa Pilipinas at hindi naging part ng festival. The
Ay,
documentary film that was produced, actually coordinated with Coast Guard and of course the Armed Forces of the Philippines, for them to have these video footages that can really show, no, ang sakripisyo ng ating mga mangingisdang Pilipino and the hardship na pinagdadaanan din ng ating mga Coast Guard sailors and the Philippine Navy sailors in carrying out the resupply operation. But kung hindi natin ito ipapalabas dito at ang mga tanging banyagang bansa lamang ang makaka-appreciate at magre-recognize dito, I think that's the problem, where the problem begins. And that is something that we should really address right now. I think the Filipino people deserves to see kung ano ang laman ng documentary film na to, kung bakit gano'n na lamang ang ginagawa ng China para pigilin ang pagpapalabas nito sa New Zealand.
Actually, I was about to ask that question, but since you commented already on it, Pure Gold is the Pure Gold grocery, the chain of groceries that is owned by Luciaco.
Yes.
So, from the back of my mind, it explains why. But from your own view,
Ako ma'am, I don't want to speculate. Perhaps they have other reasons why they have to pull out the food delivery sa festival na to. But
kasi food delivery, nag-ano rin sila ng mga fish products.
it will be more appropriate.
Made in China products, they sell also those things.
It will be more appropriate, ma'am, kung sila mismo mag-explain why they decided to pull that out.
Sinimalaya.
At hindi ito napasama sa...
But Pure Gold is the main sponsor or organizer of that. But Sinimalaya, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a private sector film industry. Ano
nga yung festival na yun, Gio?
Kasi, tatanong, Sinimalaya, I know it's a CCP thing, di ba? Bakit ano ang eksena ng Pure Gold? Sila ang major sponsor, hindi sila pwedeng organizer kasi Sinimalaya is CCP. If I'm not
Sine
mistaken.
Panalo.
Ah?
Sine Panalo.
Sine Panalo.
Correction, that is Pure Gold Sine Panalo Film Festival.
Okay.
Documentary.
Oo. Kasi pag Sinimalaya, CCP yun.
Sine Panalo.
So, tong Sine Panalo na to is what? Independent indie players?
Actually,
Movie?
it's the Pure Gold that organized itong Sine Panalo.
Okay. So, they try to enter that documentary. What's the latest? Is if you are suggesting that why not the Filipino people be presented with this docu with the government? Have you reached out with GPT before or other government entities to pick up from that Sinimalaya?
I think there are some
I mean-
sectors in our society na yan ang intention, ma'am. Para siguraduhin may papalabas ito sa mga Pilipino. On the part of the government, the National Security Advisor, Jay Tarriela, of course, supports this documentary film. He understands ang significance nito para maipakita sa mundo,
Yeah.
hindi lamang sa Pilipino, kung ano ang bullying action sa ginagawa ng China sa West Philippines.
I think that's the most logical thing to do for the NSA aside from issuing a strongly worded statement is put your money where your mouth is, di ba? So, can we say that the PCG will push for that before may National Maritime Body,
National Task Force. for the
National
West
Task
Philippines.
Force on the West Philippines, it is, sir. So, you are also part of that task
Yes,
force.
the Philippine Coast Guard is part of the NTF WPS, and I think among the majority of the member agencies recognize ang significance nitong food delivery documentary film na to na may palabas sa ating mga kababayan Pilipino.
So, from your latest information, is there any concrete or specific action towards that direction already?
Well, right now, since NSA has also given a statement, I think it's just a matter of proper coordination with the production team. Of course, that is a private entity. They also have their rights dito sa film na to.
Napanood mo na ba in the first place?
Yeah, there was already advanced screening na
Oo.
inattenda ng some members ng National Security Council.
Oh, nag-attend naman pala sila eh. So, they just watch and not take any initiative.
Ano na yun, ma'am? After na nilang ma-pull out.
Na-pull out sa Sine Panalo. Okay. And who entered that film fest to New Zealand? Is it the private
I
sector?
think the private production firm
Ang
ang nagsali.
At least sana sasabi, I was expecting that the NSA through the prodding, through the, they sent it to the New Zealand, that film fest.
Sila na yun, ma'am.
So if you watch it, can you just share a little bit detail about that documentary? How long was it? Who's the annotator?
I think it's more than an hour, 1 hour and 20 something. It's a documentary film describing the heroism ng ating mga mangisdang Pilipino. Kaya sa akin, ang ating mga kababayang mangingisda ang siyang tanging frontliner natin in exposing this and ensuring na tayo pa rin ang may rights dito sa West Philippines. So doon lang siya umiikot, ma'am.
So yung, I presume yung film clips dito, yung mga, yung water cannon sila, na yung video clips na provide ng Coast Guard.
Hindi, ma'am. May mga sarili talaga silang kuha na nagpapakita at nag-i-interview ng mga mangingisda.
Oh, so it's not a dramatization
No,
of the
these are
actual
not,
video.
Yes, these are not compilation of
Curated
videos.
nila.
Yes.
Curated nila ng
This
video.
is a curated video na kinuha talaga nila for such one.
Oo. Walang ano yun, without splicing, without ano.
Yeah.
So you can say it's a fair, neutral presentation of the actual situation of what really happened.
Yes.
Na-include ba doon sa Philippine Navy skirmish? The most na bats about skirmish na yung Chinese pirates?
Well, even the Armed Forces of Philippines is also recognized as a documentary film. It showed kung paano nagkakandak tayo ng mga resupply missions.
Yung Rore, oo. May mga...
Not just inayungin. Kasi when we talk of resupply, akala ng mga tao, sa ayungin lang.
O kasi maganda rin yung documentary sa ayungin ng isang ano, di ba, may AFP video noon, yung about ayungin, all about ayungin, the men in the ayungin.
So it's not just in ayungin, but in other maritime features na meron tayong presensya.
So may na-interview ka doon sa documentary na ito?
Wala akong interview dito, ma'am. Talaga
Ay, kaya pala hindi pinansin, wala ka doon.
Ano, ma'am?
Kaya pala hindi pinansin, wala ka doon.
Kaya ano lang to, ma'am. Talagang nakapokus lang sa mga isda. And the frontliners.
Civilian, from the civilian point of view.
Yes.
Walang military, walang Coast Guard.
Pero ma'am, yung ano lang, yung actual operation.
Oo.
But yung pinaka main context ito is how it affects yung livelihood ng ordinary people.
Real drama.
Yes.
Okay. So, as I said kanina, ito na pressure yung private film producers. But much earlier, former Senator Tolentino was also given the persona non grata, was granted the persona non grata status of the Chinese government for his number of laws he presented and the public hearings he presented on the West Philippine Sea situation. Now that he's just a former senator, and the PFA has already summoned the Chinese embassy ambassador in Manila to explain on this. On the part of the Coast Guard, ano po ba naman ang inyong participation in so far as trying to, are you, I mean, of course, we do not support such kind of move, but are you not afraid that this will become a precedent?
Persona non grata din ako, ma'am.
Ikaw ang next, saka si next si Secretary Gibo. Ikaw muna.
Ako muna, ma'am.
Oo.
Pero ano, ma'am, ang issue kasi natin dito, Senator Tolentino, when that was announced, he was still part of the Philippine Senate, 1940. Tama ba?
Hindi, last week wala na eh. June 30 lang. Ah, oo nga, pwede pa.
Yes.
Oh, last week,
Ano
June
pa siya
30.
nun?
As of
Senator
June
pa siya
30.
nun.
Yes, yes,
2
yes.
weeks ago. So, he was still part of the Senate. So, I think yun yung implication to. As a member of the Philippine Senate, and you will just be given personal ng grata dahil sa nag-conduct siya ng investigation about this misinformation
Yung mga
campaign.
drones, di ba, na-present sa
Trolls, the
public
keyboard
hearing.
warriors na
Oo.
hinayang ng Chinese embassy
Sa
that they
trolls.
are denying, right?
Yeah.
So, para sa akin, mali yun dahil Senator Tolentino is not doing that on his personal capacity. He was actually doing that as a member of the Senate. And for the Chinese government to sanction him because of such committee hearing na pinamunuan niya, I think that's unfair. And it's a slap on our face as Filipinos na dahil miyembro ng Senado mismo natin yung ginaganyan nila. Kung ako naman, ma'am, masanction, siguro hindi rin naman kasi hindi rin nila siguro isipin pupunta ako ng China at any moment from now.
Maski schooling. Para, indoctrinate.
Ano ma'am, uulitin yung ano nila, no?
Hindi, kasi sabi, di ba ang accusation sila eh, kasi you are Western o US, lucky na pinirrain sa US. So, reverse indoctrination gagawin sa'yo.
Reverse indoctrination.
Oo.
Matagal-tagal yan.
Pero marami tayo, di ba, na napadala sa China tapos pinabalik nga dahil nagkaroon ng outcry. Bakit yung pinadadala ng ating mga military people sa China?
Yes, actually, tinigil na natin yan ngayon, ma'am. Wala na ininto na natin yung military exchanges, particularly for education and training with the Chinese government.
Since when na-stop, sir?
I think early as last year pa.
Kasi
I'm
nagkaroon
not sure. Pero pinatigil na natin.
Sa Coast Guard din, meron ganyan, di ba?
Sa Coast Guard before, merong tinatawag nilang Joint Coast Guard Committee meeting. Under such setup, yung Coast Guard personnel sa Pilipinas will also go to the Chinese Coast Guard facilities. Pero that was during the time of the former president, Duterte. But now, we don't have that kind of setup na ang Philippine Coast Guard personnel ay pupunta sa China para mag-train.
Yes. And lately, doon sa, ano po ba ang status ng enforcement ng mga new maritime laws na napasa ni Senator Tolentino and other senators? Was it, or were they really helping you a lot, or you still need more laws to really put our WPS fixed before the international body?
Well, ang isang ang ginagawa pa natin sa National Maritime Zones Act and of course yung Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act, ma'am, is yung IRR niya.
Yeah.
For law enforcers like the Coast Guard, PNP Maritime Group, Bureau of Customs, Immigration, Quarantine, to have a much more clear understanding kung ano ang mga zones na pwede nating i-conduct ang CIQS, law enforcement, and other
Ano CIQS?
customs, immigration, quarantine, security inspection.
Okay. Yung border patrols.
So, yun yung lacking pa ngayon.
Yung IRR.
Yes, the IRR and
For
us-
both laws.
Yes, for both laws.
Di ba, the last time we had Senator Tolentino here, sabi niya, it has to be delivered before an international body so that we will put on notice the international body that we have these kinds of laws to protect our claims on the West Philippine Sea. Ano po ba latest update na naibigay sa inyo?
Honestly, ma'am, I don't have details yet as to how we are reaching out to the international body for them to recognize itong ating Maritime Zones Act and Archipelagic Sea Lane. I think the Department of Foreign Affairs is the right agency to ask dating sa ganitong ugnayan natin.
Pero aside from the Coast Guard and the Philippine Navy, just, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks ago, the Chinese Coast Guard and militia were attacking the BFAR. The BFAR research boats and other...
Well, nangyari ito, ma'am, sa Baho de Masinloc.
Oo.
kung saan ang ating mga BFAR vessel while
Oo.
we were distributing fuel subsidy
Okay.
para sa mga mangingisda were subjected to water cannon attack.
Yeah. Oo, hindi naman sila attack vessels, di ba sa war vessels, di ba?
Yes, of the Chinese Coast Guard. It just
Oo.
goes to show na ang Chinese government, they are there to be consistent with their own own objective, that is to violate the international law,
They're bullying.
endanger the safety of ordinary people, and do not respect our sovereign rights.
Yes. And they are still insisting na yung 200 easy natin does not apply to them because it's still within their yan ang usual
Dahil sa
argument.
kanilang 9-9 na.
Yes. And kaya nga pala na imbitahan kita because we are now observing the anniversary of our Hague ruling.
Yes.
And what activities are you preparing for this Hague ruling which unfortunately we were not able to capitalize on?
Then,
Panahon ni Duterte kasi pumasok yun eh.
pero ngayon ma'am,
After 2016, July 2016.
yes.
Oh,
Then, we were not able to leverage them.
Oo.
Well, of course, under this administration, under President Bongbong Marcos, we have high regards sa impact ng 2016 Arbitral Award.
Mm-mm.
Simula pumasok ang administrasyon na to, mas mataas ng bilang ng mga bansa ang sumusuporta sa Arbitral Award na to. And this Arbitral Award is, kung mapapansin mo ma'am, no? Sa lahat ng press statements natin, we're not just mentioning UNCLOS, we are also highlighting the 2016 Arbitral Award as our basis to call out illegal presence of the Chinese Coast Guard and Chinese Maritime Militia. Eh di sana hayahay na lang si Chinese ambassador dito
bakit
without
nga?
exerting so much effort.
Why does Ambassador Wang Xilian has that impunity to quarrel among his fellow ambassadors na dapat tayo ang nagko-call ng out sa kanya attention because only now that we were able to call him out kasi nandito siya, lagi na lang pag nagtatawag siya, nasa Beijing daw siya.
I don't think that Ambassador Wang Xilian is doing this on his own. Basically, he's just taking orders from the capital, from Beijing,
NFA.
from the People's Republic of China. So, ibig sabihin, yan talaga ang behavior ng Chinese government. Mang-away, magpumilit ng violation nila, and do not adhere to the international law. At kapag may magsasalita that is contrary to their own views, na alam naman natin illegal, they would bully their way around to silence other states.
As I ask you, ano po ba ang special activities line up for that arbitral ruling anniversary?
Well, of course, you know, strat base, no? Sir Dindo Manhit, and Sir Dindo has an activity this coming Friday. Maraming ambassadors ang magsasalita dito, expressing their support and recognition of the power of the 2016 Arbitral Award.
Saan po gagawin yan? Para makubera natin.
Kasama din ako dyan. Pero Manila Polo Club.
Oo. Advertise na natin. What time?
It will start at 9 a.m. Pagsasalita muna mga ambassadors. That will be the first part. And then there is lunch muna. And then it will resume at 1 p.m.
Ano yung 1 p.m.?
Yung sa 1 p.m. naman, magsasalita ako dito together with Admiral Trinidad.
For the Philippine Navy
Yes,
counterpart
and of
mo.
course, Colonel Taburlupa and some other people.
Yung current National Task Force on the WPS, si Sen,
Si Jan.
hindi, yung National Task
NMC.
Oo.
Ang
Centino.
Centino. Actually, si Secretary Centino is the presidential advisor for maritime
Oh.
affairs.
And he chairs that body.
No, the one that chairs the National Maritime Council is the executive secretary.
Oh, yeah. Co-chair lang bali o vice chairman na siya.
Uh,
Ay, ang dami, ang dami, may task. Meron pang mother committee na nawala na ba yung National Task Force on
Hindi,
WPS?
ma'am. Andiyan pa ang NTF-WPS.
Oo, tapos
the
meron pa
Philippine
yung-
Coast Guard is part of the NTF-WPS.
And also, you are also National Maritime
No.
Centino.
No.
Why?
Ang NMC,
Oo.
ang nagre-represent sa amin doon, is the department transportation.
Ah,
But for
okay.
the
Are you attached
agencies
with the
to-
DOTR?
Yes.
Ah, kala ko PNP Marit. Ay, ba yun? Okay,
Iba
okay.
yun.
Okay. So, speaking of the DOTR, your new secretary is so much into action. What specific concrete actions have you taken for the benefit of Coast Guard to bolster your capacity, your force build up?
Well, si Secretary Vince, no, ang usapan nila ni Commandant, ni Admiral Ronnie Hilcaban, is anything that we can think of to develop our capability, whether acquisition of Coast Guard vessels, aircraft, or even facility development, supportahan daw ni Secretary. That's how supportive our Secretary is when it comes to modernization of the Philippines.
Eh, as I said earlier, pay lip service yan without seeing the concrete support.
Meron naman. May mga concrete tayo engagement with.
We tend to procure, to import, get it from the excess defense articles from the US, ODA from Japan. Why are we not tapping our capability to build our own ships?
Well, for example, ma'am, the French government,
Oh.
ang contract natin dyan is for them to provide 40 patrol ships.
Okay.
Ang naging arrangement natin dyan, 20 will be constructed in France
Oo.
and 20 will be constructed here in the Philippines.
Is it already taking place
Yeah,
here?
this was already signed. But of course, unahin muna yung sa kanila.
Oo.
The objective of that setup is one, for the transfer of technology.
Oo.
Second is also to support the local shipbuilding.
Yeah.
Para mayroon karoon tayo ng mga shipbuilding in the
Saan
city.
gagawin yan shipbuilding sa Pilipinas ng
I'm not
Coast Guard?
really sure whether it's in Cebu
Yeah,
or
kasi
in...
doon alam ko may sa Cebu meron eh.
Yeah.
So,
So we are also thinking with that kind of strategy
oo.
for us to have a spillover of the technology
Yeah.
and the
Pero
transfer.
alam nyo kung anong kailangan nyo, may lalagay yun. Di ba, sir? So, how much is the package, total package?
So, I don't have the figure.
Is it already taking it, being implemented already?
Yes, this already.
So, anong
taken.
timeline yun, sir?
Hopefully by 2026,
Oo.
we can have initial delivery
Okay, ng
of
20.
the first Coast Guard vessels that will be coming from France.
Oo.
And then sa Japan naman, the 97-meter vessels, ito yung malalaki,
Oo. How big?
97-meter vessels. Ito yung
Okay.
pinakamalaki natin, ma'am.
Oo.
So we have two of those, itong Teresa Magbanwa and Menchora.
Oo, yun.
So under this administration, President Marcos supported the acquisition of 5 more 97-meter vessels
From Japan.
from Japan. It will be delivered, the first one, hopefully by 2027.
2027.
Yes.
So, ODA yun or what?
Yes.
With the present capacity? Patanongin sa'yo, ano yung capacity na yun ng Coast Guard?
Well, nasagot ko na rin yan, ma'am. No? Meron tayong dalawang 97-meter vessel. These are the biggest Coast Guard vessels that we have.
Going all around the archipelago.
Yes.
But
we
nakadevote pa
are
kayo sa WPS.
prioritizing West Philippines.
Oo.
So the 297-meter vessels,
Yun lang sa
ang
WPS.
deployment talaga niyan lagi, ma'am, is the West Philippine Sea.
Yung sa
We
kalayaan
also
din,
have
Baho
one
de Masinloc.
83-meter vessel na malaki na nanggaling sa France.
Okay.
It covers Visayas area naman. It is purely intended for other Coast Guard functions besides from patrolling the West Philippines. We also have the 44-meter vessels. Ito talaga yung muscle boats natin.
Oh.
Alam ng ating mga media friends
Oh.
kung dyan sila nai-embed. So, they already have the experience to ride in
Ano
some of
ginagawa
those.
niya?
Ito rin, ma'am, ang ginagamit natin para magpatrolya sa West Philippines.
I thought yung humanitarian rescue, yung mga ganun.
Well, we also do that kapag na...
Mabilis to pag 44 meter kasi
Mabilis naman,
mas maliit. Pero is it armed? Water cannon lang.
Depende, ma'am. I mean, our personnel. Kasi ang Japan,
Oh.
of course, they have constitutional limitations
Yes,
of
nga pala.
exporting arms. So, ang mga Coast Guard vessels na to, it's just a platform.
Yeah, okay.
It's for us to install
Civil defense
mga,
na.
mga armaments.
Speaking of civil defense, you are now also involved in the civil defense of ngayon mga typhoon prone, flood prone, landslide prone areas of the country. So, diffuse ang ngayon ang PCG personnel all over the Philippines, especially those sa potential typhoon path. How are you coping? How many ang Coast Guard personnel?
Ang Coast Guard personnel natin ngayon, ma'am, is already 35,000 plus.
Okay.
Our actual number of personnel is even bigger than the Philippine Navy now.
Talaga? Ilan ang babae doon?
Hindi ko alam, ma'am. But I think it's more than 20%.
Okay. Pero yung sa dedicated sa WPS,
For those who are dedicated sa WPS, there's also a large number. Kasi ginagawa namin, ma'am, that's what the commandant always wanted, yung female non-officer and female officer.
Okay, yun
Sila
yun.
yung gumagamit ng
Nag-radio.
radio channel.
Radio challenge.
Yeah.
Kaya sabi ko nga, mag-aral sila ng Mandarin. Masak sila. Hindi sa English, i-Mandarin yung, di ba kayo nag-a-attempt na gano'n? Si BP nga nagsasalita ng Mandarin eh.
Si BP Sara, ma'am.
Oo. Pagsalitain mo din yung mga women Mandarin para maganda.
Ang issue kasi natin, ma'am,
O kaya Tagalog.
I don't think na ang mga Chinese Coast Guard walang nakakaintindi sa kanila kung sinasabi natin.
Ng English.
Di ba?
And
Paniwala ka ba, ma'am, hindi
whether
nila
what
naiintindihan?
language, they will
Yeah.
refuse to understand
Yes,
it.
that's actually the point. Whether we will use Ilonggo, Bisaya,
Di, pakasar lang.
I think may AI capability na yan mga yan. They can
Oo.
translate it. But the point is, kahit anong dialect at language ang sabihin
If they
natin sa
refuse
radio,
it.
they will still refuse
Mm.
to adhere kung ano man ang direction natin sa
Merong kanina, yung wala ka pa, sabi, nag-request si Ian, kanina sa GMA 7.
Sino?
Ilan dyan, si Ian. Yung tanong namin daw sa'yo, yung POV ng Japan sa paghahanap ng mga bangkay sa Taal Lake.
Hindi ko alam naman sa bangkay eh. Pang West Philippines sila ako.
Kaya sabi namin, tatry namin ng luck. Kasi
Sa West Philippines sila ako.
manghihiram daw tayo ng POV, deep diving equipment sa Japan. Baka na-inform ka about sa deep diving equipment na papayram ng Japan.
Wala, ma'am. Pang West Philippines sila ako. Hindi ko cover yan, ma'am. Yung paghahanap sa mga sabungero.
So, on that note, I'm opening the question to you. Please identify yourself
Ayun,
before you ask
Sir
questions.
Patrick.
Sir, good morning po. And kay ma'am po, good morning. Sir, kasi may 6 na Abukuma class destroyer escorts na export po yung Japan. And as per Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro, hindi kaagad ito tatanggapin kasi nga kailangan check yan. Kasi kailangan pang pag-aralan kung magiging akma yun dun sa sistema or yung fleet po ng Philippine Navy. Just in case lang po, sir, na hindi nga ito mag-fit sa Navy, ang Coast Guard po ba willing tanggapin itong mga barko mula po sa Japan?
Alam mo, Patrick, napaka-tricky nung question mo. Kasi ang isang tanong dyan is, even before we respond, kung tatanggapin namin, ang tanong dyan is, will the Japanese government also give that to the Coast Guard? Kasi mas sensitive pa ang Japan pagdating sa defense articles at saka sa Coast Guard equipment. Kapag pinag-usapan, especially under this administration. Meaning, they recognize na ang 2016 Arbitral Award basically binasura ang 9-9 ng People's Republic of China. So, ibig sabihin, any countries who would say that they are standing side by side supporting the Philippine government, kinikilala nila ang 2016 Arbitral Award. And for me, that's the biggest achievement and impact of the Arbitral Award. For the international community to believe that the 2016 Arbitral Award is actually the realization of the rules-based order, that it is actually a product of international law. And all countries who supports that rules-based order should also support our fight in the West Philippines.
Ma'am, can I follow up?
Sige daw.
On Friday, you mentioned on Friday, meron tayong conference strat base. So how will PCG naman, sir, mark the anniversary of the arbitral ruling operational?
has something in mind how we can be able to celebrate itong arbitral ruling.
May suggestion ako, mag-parade kayo.
Good morning po, Commodore. May mga nagpalutang po dati nung may mga pinaplanong arbitration case versus China when it comes to environmental damages
Oo nga
daw
pala.
due to reclamation, island building activities ng China. May balita po ba kung tuloy pa po ba ito or on the process pa ng pag-aaral ganyan?
Yung mga destruction of the reef, di ba?
I think this was mentioned last year. Pinanggit ito ng Department of Justice. And as of this time, I think these are still being considered at hanggang ngayon ay pinag-aaralan.
Kailangan ba Philippine government mag-take up nito kasi not individual, private? Katulad yung mga UP nag-study no ng reef natin, di ba? May nag-conduct ng...
May naging study na ba, ma'am, ang UPMS?
Di ba sila in-attack ng ng Chinese chopper na nag...
Hindi, ma'am. Ano yun? Hindi po UPMS ay
hindi pa ba yun?
these are marine scientists from Palawan.
Okay.
Palawan Council for Sustainable Development.
Tanong pa kayo?
Si Bianca daw, ma'am.
Okay, Bianca. Nasisilaw ako sa live, di ko makita eh.
Good morning po. Sir, any updates lang dun, sir, sa ginawang environmental damage assessment sa Pag-asa Reef 1? Can be recalled no, na earlier last month, sumadsad dun yung isang Chinese maritime militia vessel.
Yes, the Palawan Council for Sustainable Development, yung PCSD, already came up with the result ng evaluation nila. But it is yet to be presented sa NTF-WPS. And from there, I think that's the time that we can come up with actions and whether it will be publicized and shared to the media. Kahit nasa akin biyags, pero mas gusto ko to give respect sa PCSD since they are the ones who did the study. They should be the one to share to the media and to explain ano ang mga significant findings na ginawa nila out of that survey.
Sir, kamusta yung monitoring naman natin sa mga features in the West Philippine Sea? For example, sa Rosul Reef, kasi last month po, di ba, merong swarming doon ng mga maritime militia vessels. Kamusta po ngayon, especially with the unpredictable weather we have?
Well, dahil sa, sabi ko kanina, no, dahil sa sobrang pangit na panahon sa West Philippine Sea, even the Chinese maritime militia that are swarming in those areas have significantly decreased. Wala nang ganung karami ng swarming sa Rosul Reef and also in Hasa-Hasa.
While you are busy in the West Philippines, yeah.
Tanong daw, ma'am.
Okay. Nasisilaw kasi ako.
Inquire ka pa ba?
Apa. Hello, sir.
Nagagaling lang yan sa US, di ba?
Apa.
Oo.
Sir,
Oo.
may we have numbers on yung mga maritime militia. May we have the numbers, sir, kung ilan yung nabawas po?
I don't have the numbers right now, but it significantly decreased. I think sa Hasa-Hasa Shoal nga, wala nang Chinese maritime militia.
Saan ba yung hasa-hasa show?
Hasa-Hasa Shoal or Half Moon Shoal only has a distance of between 50 to 60 nautical miles off the coast of Rizal, Palawan.
Okay.
Napakalapit na yun.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, sige. O nga pala, nakalimutan ko itanong. Kamusta na yung libel case, cyber libel case mo? Ilan ba yung inaccuse mo doon?
Si ano lang, ma'am, si Sas Lugando Sasso.
Siya lang.
Siya lang mag-isa.
Ano ba yung offense na na-commit niya sa'yo?
Actually, ma'am, yung cyber libel ko, tatlong grounds lang naman yung kinukall out ko doon.
Oh.
Yung una, yung sinabi niyang pumunta ako sa bahay ni Speaker.
Yung bag of money.
Bag of money. Secondly, meron daw akong talent fee na $4 million po yun.
Wow.
Di ba,
Peso?
dollars.
Dollars. Saan galing yun?
Sa US Embassy daw. And then pangatlo, meron daw Project Atlantis, ang mga Amerikano, tapos ako daw yung nag-execute nun. So, yan yung mga ano.
Gawa executioner.
Oo.
Oo. So,
So, dahil dyan, ma'am, parang
saan mo pinailong cyber libel?
Manila Prosecutor's Office.
Okay.
Parang kasi sa akin, ma'am, it's about time na dapat patulan natin itong mga ganitong
Yeah.
maling information.
Oo.
Kasi, thank you. It's about time na patulan natin itong mga ganitong maling informasyon. Kasi, mataas yung number ng followers niya in different social media platforms. Ngayon, kung ahayaan nating magkaroon siya ng ganyang kalayaan lang without accountability, baaring masway mo yung mga Pilipino eh. Mapaniwala mo na, kaya pala ginagawa ni Commodore Tarriela, may $4 million siya sa US, plus 3 black bags pa ni speaker na punong-puno ng pera. Diba? Parang, instead of the Filipino people na ma-appreciate tayo for us to appeal to their sense of patriotism, ang iisipin nila, the government, especially me, being on the front line pagdating sa transparency efforts natin, ay binayaran lang. So nawawalan tayo ng kredibilidad, ng tiwala ang mga kababayan natin. Secondly, para sa akin, it's about time that we should put an end pagdating sa misinformation and fake news sa social media platforms. Masyado na silang nasanay na porke taga-gobyerno ka, ang argument nila lagi, you should not be on your skin. So, ang tayo naman, hinayaan natin silang magkaganyan na even without context, even without, pure lies, and then they can get away with it. Iniisip tuloy nila, kahit anong basurang isulat nila sa social media, okay lang. Kasi they are just expressing their freedom of expression. And yan ang gusto nating sabihin ngayon sa mga Pilipino na our freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, has certain limitation. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, hindi, in-exercise ko lang ang freedom of speech ko. And then third, ang pinaka-unfair sa lahat is yung, for example, may other spokesperson na supposedly magsasalita sana pagdating sa issue ng West Philippines, but a different government agency. Ngayon, kung nakikita niya sa social media na ang hirap palang kalabanin ng China kasi sa dami ng troll army na kumakatay kay Commodore Tarriela, baka ganyan din pagdaanan ko. So kung ikaw, government employee ka, instead of being convinced to support our patriotic duty dito sa West Philippines, you might have second thought kasi isipin mo, wala nang point eh. Bakit mo kailangan pa ipaglaban to kung nananalo naman sila sa narrativo?
Kaya pala to si Sas, Ruganda?
Sas Rugando Saso.
Oo.
Alan Troy. Yun yung pangalan niya sa passport.
Di ba sa China siya ngayon nagtatago daw? Tinake down siya sa Facebook and he or she somehow resurrected in another social media platform. Pero sa atin, wala ba tayong magagawa? DICT, CICC to stop such blatant, sabi mo, lies, trash.
Alam mo ma'am, minsan ang ginagawa nila, sabihin nila, kasi kapag hinanap mo na yung mga pinost niya sa akin na yun, wala na eh. Kasi sabi niya, na-deactivate na daw ng Facebook, or hindi natin alam, is really the Facebook or Meta would spend so much energy para i-deactivate yung account niya or siya lang din mismo. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
So,
yun ang defense niya right now.
Yeah, yan yung ginagawa nila eh. Magsasalita sila ng mga trash talks and then eventually i-deactivate nila para hindi mo na matrace. But good thing, even before she deactivated itong account niya na nagsabi ng mga ganito sa akin, we were able to screen capture and get affidavits from different people. Kaya nakapag-file tayo ng kaso.
Affidavit for what?
Affidavit kasi kailangan mo maipresenta sa korte na may nakabasa, na nakakita, and the case that I filed against her It's not just civil case.
Oo.
It's actually a criminal case.
A criminal case.
Yes.
So, how much are you suing for cyber libel?
Maliit lang ma'am, 1.2 million lang.
Kasi may bayad din eh.
Di ba?
Per 1 million, may babayaran ka certain legal fee. Pero fiscal
Hindi
pa
ma'am,
lang
wala
eh.
akong wala akong legal fee. Kasi Attorney
Hindi, pag
Lavinia,
pag-filing. Ay, criminal kaya dapat wala. Pag civil meron.
Attorney Lavinia and the Movement Against Disinformation, they
MAD.
offer their services
Oh,
for
yung
free.
MAD.
Yes.
Sino bang head ngayon ng MAD?
I think it's Attorney Lavinia.
Okay. Lavinia is identified with the Duterte, di ba? As a
Hindi
professor de La Salle, di ba?
Ateneo? Hindi
Ateneo.
ma'am.
Ano ba yun? Iba
Iba
pang
yun.
Lavinia
Ano
to.
yun? Iba yun ma'am.
Ano first name niya? Attorney Lavinia.
Tony.
Professor na ano ko.
Professor Tony Lavinia.
Attorney din siya. So, ano status ngayon ng... Kailan mo yun, 2 weeks ago pa final yung libel, di ba?
Last week ma'am.
Last week. So, how soon on timetable na binigay timeline?
I mean, sa akin ma'am, no rush. Nasa Manila
So,
Prosecutor's
if you file
Office.
it with the Manila Prosecutor's Office, what's the next stage? They will find probable cause,
Yes, and then saka ito i-elevate sa
court.
individual trial.
Okay. Do you force it through as a private person,
Yes, not as
not as a postcard?
spokesperson.
And you have alerted the speaker that you're gonna be citing that incident about that supposed bag of money.
Well, hindi ko na in-alert si speaker, ma'am. No? But, I think, even without him knowing it, tingin ko naman, he supports it kasi it will also clear his name.
Okay.
Ang West Philippines, totoong issue to. Hindi to ginagastusan lang ng gobyerno para may maging issue. Kasi ganyan ang narrative ng mga trolls.
Okay. Who is the Manila prosecutor assigned to, para pa-follow up natin? Ano yung status niya?
Ano din daw yun, ma'am eh? Ira-raffle din.
Sa mga business.
So, kinuha niya lang,
yung presiding,
yes,
yung
kinuha niya lang, nag-raffle para sa pagtanggap, but
Okay.
eventually ira-raffle din.
Bakit hindi sa DOJ?
Di ko alam ma'am eh.
Okay, kasi private naman. Dapat kung postcard may sa DOJ, you can, have you filed a complaint before the CICC? At least on the disinformation or the fake news part?
For the,
Fake news. Di ba CICC is the one taking care of the fake news?
ano mo sa ICC?
Center for Cyber Investigation sa DICT.
Wala pa kaming nagawang ganyan, ma'am.
Oo, dapat din yun, tap nyo yung CICC. Kasi DICT naman yun eh. And, di ba may campaign against fake news and the trolls. So, how prevalent, how persistent is those disinformation directed sa WPS?
Alam ma'am,
Monitor nyo.
meron na naman silang, meron na naman din silang celebration ng 2016 arbitral award. Ang tawag nila dito,
You mean China? Yung
hindi, itong mga to.
mga pro-China.
Ang sabi nila,
May sarili siyang celebration ng anniversary ng The Hague, the arbitral ruling.
yes, meron silang sariling celebration.
Why are they celebrating?
Ito mo yung tawag nila. Ano ba yun?
If they're celebrating the victory, okay lang. Pero anong nila? We did not win it.
Ano ma'am?
Anong contention nila? Itong mga,
Ang sabi nila, it's a disaster daw.
my God. Matapang dapat yan sa WPS. May counter program din sila, you mean to say.
Yes, meron silang,
Kayo, mag-aalala kayo, speaking this Friday. Yun ang pinaka-program nyo.
hanap ko pa muna.
Sabi, words. Puno na kasi yung kanyang phone eh.
Ito ma'am,
Oh.
9th anniversary of the 2016 arbitration disaster. So, gagawin daw nila to Friday, July 11. Ang mga speaker daw nila ay si Miss Sas Lagando Saso.
Ay, wala dito yun, di ba?
Siguro mo magzo-zoom.
Oo.
Si Herman Laurel
Ay, Chinese.
and Ado Pagninawan. And
The usual.
it will be moderated by Mr. Daniel Long. At ang venue nito, wala man, parang Zoom lang eh. Atin sana ako nito.
Pasok ka doon sa Zoom link.
So yun. Ito ma'am, ang best example no,
Ah.
na kung gaano ka rampant ang disinformation ng mga to challenge the factual narrative and the position of the Philippine government pagdating sa usapin ng West Philippines. Imagine, they're going to spend so much time coming up with that kind of dialogue na ang sasabihin lang naman nila is imamak nila ang 2016 Arbitral Award, sasabihin nilang walang basihan, mali, natalo tayo. Kaya nga minsan, I always wonder kung etong mga to ay Pilipino ba talaga or it's about time for them to reconsider no? Kung saan talaga sila dapat titira.
May follow up ka, Gio? Naasar ko sinasabi mo.
Bukod po dun sa Maritime Zones Act, Archipelagic Sea Lanes Bill, and PCG modernization, meron po ba kayong mga nilalabi ngayon na panukalang batas
For the
sa
20th
upcoming Congress? And ano pong basa ninyo dun sa 20th Congress? Sa composition po ngayon ng both Senate and House, do you think masusustain po ba yung efforts to protect West Philippine Sea?
Una sa lahat, ang paniniwala ko, no, since the members of the Senate were already proclaimed, ay sa akin, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Di mo ma'am, no? So, with that context, para sa akin, ang ating mga senador ngayon, mga magigiting na senador, ay understand yung kahalagahan ng kanilang partisipasyon pagdating sa issue ng West Philippine Sea. And kung ang tanong mo, are the newly elected senators can be able to sustain the support that we're receiving from the government, particularly the passage of the budget, I think it will still be maintained and supported. As I said, ang ating mga kongresista, mga senador natin, they are actually dependent on the approval of the Filipino people. Right now, ang ating mga kababayang Pilipino, they are aware of what's happening in the West Philippines. I don't think that any member of the Senate or Congress can just say na wala naman tayong napapala sa West Philippine Sea, babaan natin ang suporta sa operational cost ng Coast Guard or sa Armed Forces of Philippines. Hanggat ang ating mga kababayang Pilipino sa pamumuno din ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ay tumitindig at patuloy na sinusuportahan ng laban natin sa West Philippine Sea. I'm really optimistic no, na the members of the Senate and Congress right now will still support and sustain our efforts in the West Philippines.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, you mentioned kanina, itong celebration natin ng 2016 Arbitral Award, sinuportahan ng international community. Mas maraming bansa ang sumuporta. Pero sa nakikita nyo, doon naman sa behavior ng China, lalo na ngayon, may mga nararanasan tayo na water cannoning, dangerous maneuver. Mayroon bang pagbabago sa kanila o mas naging agresibo sila?
I don't think that the Chinese government are doing that because nakakakuha tayo ng suporta from the international community. Ibig sabihin, they are just desperate right now to push for their own narrative. That is the reason kung bakit nila mas tinataasan ng tension. We can explain that in four different ways. No? Three different ways. Una sa lahat, we need to understand that the transparency efforts and the vocal support of the international community with our fight in the West Philippine Sea is already globally known. No? Ibig sabihin, I think even the domestic audience of Xi Jinping is pretty much aware of what's happening. So, for Xi Jinping to get the approval of his own people, he should not back down. Kasi otherwise, he will be seen as a person that is weak, sumusunod sa dikta ng mga malalakas na bansa. So, that's the reason why he needs to maintain such bullying tactics. The second reason is for the Southeast Asian countries. Alam naman ng China kung gaano ka effective ang transparency effort ng Philippine government pagdating sa West Philippines. The transparency efforts that we have right now, sakit na sa ulo sa kanila. What more kung gagayahin pa ito ng Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. No? So, ibig sabihin, the reason why China is also elevating the tension is because he wants to make sure na among Southeast Asian countries, that will be their interpretation na it's better for us to be silent about it because the moment we publicize and adopt the transparency efforts of the Philippine government, mas ibubuli nila tayo. And then the third reason is President Xi Jinping really wants to break the Filipino spirit. I think that's the main objective of the Chinese government. For the Filipino people to stop patrolling within our own exclusive economic zone. For the Filipino people to have second thought in exposing and publicizing the aggressive action of the People's Republic of China. So that's the ultimate goal of Xi Jinping. That is the reason why he is elevating the tension in a very calibrated way that he will not still be seen as using armed aggression. Inquire. Inquire online. Asing PDI, kaya inquire online.
Oh, hello. Okay. Yes, sir. Follow up on your remarks, sir, about yung pagka-ban dun sa China, potential ban. Last week kasi, sir, bubisita si Lithuanian minister and she noted that she was also sanctioned by China but she called it as a badge of honor. Kayo, sir, if ever maban kayo sir, ni China, would you consider it as a ban of honor?
A badge of honor?
Badge of honor, sorry. Badge of honor.
I think that's a badge of honor din. Kasi ibig sabihin, pag-aksehan ka ng panahon ng China para sumulat ng pag-ban sa'yo. Di ba?
Naka-dedicated sa'yo, troll army.
Troll battalion.
Troll battalion.
Yeah, I agree with Senator Tolentino. It just goes to show that Senator Tolentino is recognized by the People's Republic of China as a person who fight for our own sovereignty and sovereign rights in the West Philippines.
Egregious behavior. Yun ang kanyang terminology. Egregious behavior towards China.
Gio. Gio daw ma.
Ayan si Gio. Sinong Gio? Dalawa palang Gio ko.
Just in case lang, balikan ko lang yung cyber libel kay SAS. Wala pa naman siyang statement, pero just in case mag-public apology siya sa'yo, may chance ba ni-atras mo yung case or final na yung decision?
Well, since wala pa rin naman, no? I don't want to anticipate kung sakali niyang gagawin. Pero nagbigay siya ng statement. Actually, I think that was 2 days ago. Ang isang sinasabi niya is, ang mainstream media daw, kapag ang mainstream media may nakukuha mga whistleblower, ay, di ba, protected daw. Samantalang ako daw, siya daw, may sources din daw siya sa DND and the Coast Guard to attest yung lahat ng sinabi niya. But the point is, alam naman natin sa media, the mainstream media really evaluate kung sino yung sources nila. May credibility ba to? Factual ba to? Talaga bang alam niya kung ano sinasabi niya? What if it is just somebody that sent him a message at sinabing si Tarriela, may talent fee sa Amerika, pumunta sa bahay ni Speaker, at higit sa lahat, executive, ng Operation Atlantis. Diba? I think that's the difference.
Pwede mo, last question from my end. Balikan ko lang yung question ni Inquirer doon sa online about sa ban. Do you see this as a gray zone tactic, not just at sea but in the political space as well?
Well, gaya sinabi natin, no? Para sa amin, we don't use gray zone anymore. Anything that they do is actually illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive. You just have to frame it in those 4 dimensions. Ano ba to? Coercive or just a deceptive way? I would agree with you. I think this is also a coercive way, a coercion on the part of the People's Republic of China to make other senators or legislators also think na if you're going to be very hard on China in your committee hearing, this is what you're also going to experience afterwards.
Warning shot, no?
Yes.
Gray zone, when you say gray zone, military to military. Eh, right now,
Hindi,
white to
ma'am,
white.
kapag-
Eh.
ang explanation ng gray zone is in the power spectrum.
Oo.
It's in the middle between white and gray.
Okay.
So, hindi mo siya masabing it is involving maritime law enforcement and it's also involving armed kinetic conflict.
Okay.
There's a gray area. For example, yung paggamit ng water cannon.
Oh.
How would you frame it? It's gray zone. Pero ngayon, ma'am, under this, with the AFP using ICAT, no? Illegal, coercive, aggressive, deceptive. Kasi, nung hindi tayo nag-expose ng aggression ng China,
Oh.
the gray zone activities really can be considered as gray. No? Kasi, nobody knows about it. But, because of our transparency efforts, we're telling the international community and the Filipino people what's happening. So, we already stopped using gray because for us, it is an outright violation of the international law. It is an outright violation of existing treaties na pinirmahan nila, whether that's COLREGs or even SOLAS or especially the UNCLOS.
Akala ko yung use of military. Ano. So, ACAT is illegal, coercive, aggressive,
and
deceptive.
deceptive.
Ang sino gumagamit ng
AFP, ma'am, ang nagsimulang gumamit na. And
sa WPS?
Yes, and now we're towing the line. We're also using this kind of terminology so that the Chinese cannot just get away with it by saying that's a gray area.
Oo.
Para sa atin, whatever you're doing in the West Philippine Sea is outright violation of the law. And it will either be illegal, coercive, aggressive, or deceptive.
But your response would be still hindi ganun, hindi ACAT,
Yes.
but you follow the rules-based
Yes,
order.
we follow the rules basically.
So, pa-effect tayo na bubugbugin tayo ala Fernando Paul Jr. Tayo papabugbog, and let the international community speak for us.
Well, it's not to the point na nagpapabugbog tayo, ma'am. No? Ang sinasabi lang natin is that if they're going to water cannon us, we're not going to also use our own water cannon for 2 reasons. One, we need to understand na kapag nag-water cannon ka, our statement in condemning their action, what's the difference?
Oh, pareho lang.
Parang pare-pareho na tayo ng bubuli sa isa't isa. Ang yung moral card na meron tayo, we have already given
Moral
it away. Diba?
ascendancy natin.
And then the second one is, ang China, kapag nag-respondi ka, they never really care about the spiraling of escalatory action. So, kapag mag-water cannon sila, water cannon mo din sila, you can just expect that after you do such water cannon attack as well, they're going to elevate the level of aggression. And then that will be the time that they can have an excuse para sabihin, hindi, Philippine Coast Guard na nag-water cannon sa amin. So, that's the reason why we are preventing the spiral of escalation.
Question? Yung napakinggan ko na blurb sa FBI, don't spiral we're not spiraling the terror. Yeah. Anyways, if no other questions, we will ask our guest here, our favorite guest, whom we invited again because of the 9th anniversary of the arbitral ruling, and timely also because of the bad weather, and we are hoping, and we finally get the good news that the Chinese militia and the Coast Guard have
Yes.
declined their presence here because thank you, more cyclones to come here. Going to WPS. I remember kasi yung nangyari doon sa Scarborough, di ba? Ang dami nung, panahon ni Pinoy yun eh. Di ba, nag-swarm sila sa Coast Guard na talagang to the point na magkakaroon na ng ano, kaya lang dahil sa bagyo, umalis silang lahat. Kaya thank you for the divine intervention. Anyways, Commodore Jay Tarriela.
Thank you po, ma'am. Let me also take this opportunity to invite everyone, no? In celebrating our Arbitral Award, meron din po tayong takbo para sa West
Meron
Philippine Sea.
ulit.
Yes. On July 27. Please register ready and
Saan?
sa Quirino Grandstand, ma'am. Ang ating organizer uli ng takbo para sa West Philippine Sea is si Coach Rio, the Ram Rio, ang organizer natin na to. And the proceeds, no, ng takbo para sa West Philippine Sea will be used to print itong mga comic books natin na
Teacher
pinamimigay. Yes.
Teacher One.
June.
Teacher June.
Na pinamimigay natin sa mga public schools
Dumami.
nationwide para mabasa nila ang issue ng West Philippines. So,
Tatakbo
please.
ka rin?
Yes, lagi ako tumatakbo, ma'am.
Okay.
Tatakbo ng West Philippine Sea.
Ano na ang initial na runners mo?
Right now, we already have 2,900 runners.
Okay.
Nag-register na kayo. O kasama na kayo ng 29. Gio, mag-register ka. Inquire online. Mag-register.
Ano, may mga yung ano, may West Philippine Sea, ano?
Mura lang yun. I think that's only 1,000 pesos.
Okay. Ano?
Ano ma'am? 3K, 5K, 10K. Ano ba? 3K, 5K.
O, mga pang 3K lang sila. Hindi tatagal
Ay,
naman.
ma'am, 3K lang tayo. Lakad lang tayo.
Paglalaban natin yung ating ano. Anyway, kasi mo yung closing mo, takeaway mo.
Ang closing ko, ma'am, no? Again, I would like to thank our media friends. Para sa akin, ang pag-amplify natin ng ating factual narrative, the right information with regard to the West Philippine Sea cannot be done by the Philippine government alone. We need to rely to our third state. Of course, the media, the journalists, the mainstream media, para ipakalat sa ating mga kababayang Pilipino kung ano ang tamang impormasyon pagdating sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea. We should not allow social media influencers, pro-China trolls, to dominate the social media space para i-counter ang ating naratibo pagdating sa issue ng West Philippine Sea. It is important for us to double our efforts to counter misinformation dahil ang tinatarget natin dito ay ang mga kabataang Pilipino, the next generation of Filipinos. Ang sabi nga ni Justice Carlo, our fight for the West Philippine Sea is intergenerational. And it will be very difficult for us to continue our fight kung ang ating mga kabataan ay hindi alam kung ano ang ipinaglalaban natin at bakit natin ito ipinaglalaban. That's why we are engaging the media, participating with this kind of talk, so that it will be easier, no, para sa ating mga kababayan na malaman at marinig ang tamang informasyon pagdating sa issue ng West Philippine Sea. Maraming salamat.
And to inform you, we are using your Starlink so that we have better reception, transmission of our Kapihan sa Manila Bay all over the Philippines. Thank you very
Maraming
much for
salamat,
bringing that
Starlink.
Starlink. Oh, kasi may mahirang signal. And congratulations and hope to see you on July 27 for the anniversary of the West Philippine Sea.
Di ma'am for the takbo,
Oh,
July 27.
July 27 nga.
Yes.
Pero sa Friday, meron din event kayo.
Yes.
Okay. See you also there.
See you on Friday.
Apo. Thank you very much. And next week, we will have another conversations with Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. Okay, thank you.
Bus ang bus.
May ambus pa?
Siyempre.
Oo ba?
Bitin pa ako.
Sana all.
Bitin pa ako.